I've reviewed this movie 2 times already on 4K. The first one was on a Vudu stream and the second one was on the 𝙒𝙀𝙀𝙀. There's also a 3D version as well, which happens to be, I think, the best way to watch the movie. We're going to be checking out the long-awaited physical disc version of 2014's Edge of Tomorrow on 4K Blu-ray. This isn't a review on how good or bad the movie is. I'm just going to be sharing some of my thoughts on the audio and the video quality. Now let's go over a few tech specs. The movie was shot in 35mm. It's got a 2K DI. It's rated PG-13. Runtime is 113 minutes, and the aspect ratio is 239:1. So there are black letterbox bars, and the audio is in Dolby Atmos. If you own the movie already on Vudu, then you know how it sounds in Atmos. That's a knockout Atmos mix with plenty of overhead activity. Jumping into the Atmos viewer during the first battle in Chapter 3, you'll hear Tom spinning around the top of the room with a whole ton of chaos happening in the lower channels. There's not a ton of objects that float around from speaker to speaker, but there is still solid movement nonetheless. Quieter scenes have plenty of background ambiance that expands the soundstage outwards, which gives you that huge cinematic presence. Now, even though the Atmos mix is much more immersive and expansive over the older Blu-ray 7.1 mix, that original DTS mix does dig lower than the Atmos version. If you're really into home theater, then you already know that the first few seconds of the movie drops into the single digits, which has been a go-to demo for testing out subwoofers forever. Well, since the movie came out. If you got a less than capable subwoofer, then this movie will definitely blow it if you're listening too loud. On this Atmos mix, I believe it cuts off around 30 Hz, so it drops off pretty steeply at 30, which I believe is what they did with War of the Worlds when that came out on physical media. I'm not sure why they keep doing this to Tom, but it's a real disappointment. Aside from that, there's still plenty of bass in the mix, so explosions will rumble your room and all that machine gun fire has got plenty of impact. If you're new to the channel and you're into new movies and audio and video gear and want to see more content like this, be sure to tap the subscribe button for new weekly videos. Image quality wise, this looks like the 𝙒𝙀𝙀𝙀 version that's been out for a few years, and a much more stable version than what's on digital streaming. Obviously, it's got a higher bitrate, so motion artifacts during the heavy action scenes don't suffer from compression as can be seen on Vudu. It's definitely cleaner with tighter grain structure coming from the standard Blu-ray, which gives it that nice filmic theatrical look. So if your preference is crispy digitally shot movies, then you might have an issue with this. It's still got plenty of high resolution details such as pores and wrinkles, and the mechanical suits have a more battle-worn age tangibility. Now, even though the movie came out in 2014, the digital effects still hold up pretty well today. If you compare the effects to something that came out recently, like, say, Moonfall, you think that this movie came out yesterday. Unlike the 4K version on Vudu, this only has standard HDR10. Vudu has Dolby Vision. It's still not a bright HDR transfer, so it's not gonna knock your socks off with bright, vivid HDR colors. It's got a max CLL of 300 and a max fall of 17. It's still got a nice pop from machine guns and explosions, but like I said, it's more dim than it is bright. The color palette is mostly earthy, warm hues with a few cooler scenes here and there. Shadow detail and black levels do edge on crushing low-level information, so in the darker scenes towards the end of the movie when they're under the Louvre, you might have a tough time making out what's happening. If you've got a less than capable display, it might just look like a muddy mess. But overall, it is a nice upgrade over the 1080p version. So I'm going to keep my score and keep it a 9.2. The image is cleaner and tighter with a more refined filmic appearance. If you're a fan of the movie and don't have a 3D display, then this is the best way to watch it. For audio, it's got a stellar Atmos mix with active overhead channels and a very immersive soundstage. Unfortunately, they keep doing Tom wrong. It is missing the very lowest octaves at the start of the movie, but it's still got killer bass and it does sound better than the original 7.1 mix. So I'm gonna keep my score again and keep it at a 9.8. Now I've just gotta take this Atmos mix and remix it with the 3D version. That's gonna be the best way to watch it. So what are your thoughts on Edge of Tomorrow on 4K Blu-ray? Have you seen it and are you missing that bit of extra bass on the bottom? Leave a comment down below and let us know. Now if you do want to pick up this disc, I'll leave a link for it down below in the video's description. As always guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow us on social media, and if you want to support the channel and get exclusive content or great discounts on audio and video gear, then stop by our Patreon page. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again in the next video.